Sit up straight, cross your legs, and mind your P's and Q's. It's time for the Cheese with the Side of Sandwich podcast. I'm Chubby Cheese.
And I'm Sammich. Do-do-do-ba-do-boo-doo.
And welcome to our Friday the 13th episode. Ooh. It's also, come to find out, I did some math earlier. Our 13th episode.
Oh, fuck! Are we gonna get cursed?
Tons of things are happening right now.
Are we cursed? Are we gonna get cursed?
What would be an appropriate curse for a podcast, do you think? Like, we're all just mute. But we're all mute, but we still have to submit a podcast. So it's just an hour and 15 minutes of just...
of miming.
Silence. And then every once in a while, you'll hear a mouse move, like...
Hold on, wait. I got
Yeah, and then...
just, like...
Yeah, you'll just hear random noises for an hour. That'd be a good April Fool's Day episode, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Well, it's Friday the 13th, everybody. It's not quite Halloween, but it is weird that it's hard to do two spooky episodes because we've got the Halloween episode coming up, and we've got this episode. So
I like
we're going to try to do two different things. I think we're going to do something special for Halloween because it's Halloween.
Yeah.
But Friday the 13th, we can't let it go past, especially when it's a Friday when our podcast comes out. So I figure I wanted to talk about what is the scariest thing that's ever happened to you? Ever. That's, podcast appropriate? Not
oh, I see what you mean.
I was having sex and sharded and then,
That's terrifying, and luckily that's never wow. Okay, I want to hear this story now that you brought it up. No. Tell me a story.
I've never shit the bed while having sex.
Well, you brought this up.
All I have to say about it.
Well, improv it. What would happen in that situation?
I'm not tell an untrue story. I'm asking you first. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
Oh gosh. Well, a lot of the times, like when I was younger in our house, when I was a kid growing up, we only had one bathroom in the house, and it was my mom, my sister, and I, and our grandparents all living in that place. Mm-hmm. It was one bathroom. So, but we did have a bathroom in the garage. So, but it was always really terrifying.
How does that work?
Running. You would just have to.
Is there just a toilet hooked up to plumbing in the garage?
Yeah, with the sink and everything.
Is it its own separate room, or is it just
It's its own separate. Yeah, okay. It's its own separate.
It's not like you have a garage
house
that has a car in it, and then also there's a toilet next to it.
No. It's its own bedroom. Apparently, it used to be the original house on the property before ours was there.
Okay.
Growing up.
I see.
Yeah. So, but that shit was terrifying. When you had to go to the bathroom at 9 o'clock at night, but somebody's in there taking a shower, and then you had to run across the grounds just to go and take a piss, especially if the door is locked, which was fucking terrifying. And I grew up in this kind of ranchy kind of area, and it's pitch fucking dark out there. Mm-hmm. It would always freak me the fuck out whenever there would be little scritches just kind of roaming around, just
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So anyway, what's the actual just the fact that
just I was afraid of the fucking dark all the time. But when I was younger, I don't know about you, but I used to hear noises just kind of coming from my closet. Uh-huh. And I thought it was just me, oh well, it's just the wind. This place is pretty old. Ha 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 ha. But late at night, especially when I was a little kid, it kind of started going away as I got older. I would hear this noise coming from my closet,
Hopefully that picks up on the mic. You would hear this exhale.
Yeah, this kind of inhale, exhale type thing. Just.
You can keep doing it. I'm not 100% sure it's going to show up.
I think it will. If it can pick up a fart in the room, I could pick up that.
When have we ever picked up a fart in the room? I think I'm very discreet we're all very discreet when it comes to our farting.
Well, anywho, so that used to freak me the fuck out. It's just a draft. It's just a fucking draft. But then I found out my sister was hearing it from her room. Right. In her closet, but only ever sometimes. It still makes
sense if it was the wind.
Yes, but it still freaked me the fuck out. And then, about 14 years old, after I had actually brought it up, and she told me that she had heard it too, we never spoke of it again. We also never heard it again, and we lived in that house for another 7 years or so.
And you just lived with it for 7 years? Or?
Yeah. It freaked me the fuck out. I think probably, I'm not a big believer in ghosts or whatnot, but I do remember I do remember saging the place at one point because I thought it would smell good.
Uh-huh.
And I think maybe sage might be chasing away the voodoo.
Well, that is a thing that is part of an exorcism.
Yeah. Cleansing the air, cleansing the palate.
Right, exactly.
Palate, because I want to eat the ghosts.
Did you ever try and befriend the ghost? Did you ever give the ghost a
Fuck
name?
no.
No?
No, I don't fuck with that shit.
I'd like to think if I came face to face with a ghost, my first instinct would be to try and be its friend.
Like...
Because, I bet ghosts have some really good stories to tell, and, they're like, oh, but they're they can't help it.
Yeah.
And it's just we're kind of prejudging, judging a book by its cover. Why not just, ask the ghost how he's doing? Oh, it's been a rough couple of millennia. Oh.
Well, how do you know it's gonna be a ghost? What if you just, kind of invite a fucking demon, and then you're, fucking Emily Rose in that shit?
We could invite a vampire. Vampires you have to invite.
Yeah, but I was gonna say that's different. Vampires you have to invite.
You have to accept them into your soul. It's much like Jesus, in that you have to want them to come in.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've often found that Jesus is much like a vampire. He has to be invited into your heart. And they drank blood. First of all, that was the blood of Christ was wine. They drank his blood. And 2, he had enormous fangs.
From my understanding, Judas might have been the first vampire.
Well,
because he was never allowed inside of the gates of heaven, had to always stand outside of it, couldn't hold silver, which was the silver that they gave him for turning in Jesus, and always craved the blood of Christ because he never drank from
silver.
it.
That would be a lycanthrope. Or a werewolf.
Werewolf.
No.
Werewolf. Why are you talking that way?
Kazel.
Werewolf.
The scariest story the scariest thing I think that ever happened to me. Okay, so I think there's a humorous one, and I think there's a real one. Mm-hmm. And I think my real one was, I got walking home from school one day when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I usually come home by myself. My parents worked, and my sister, I got home before my sister did. And I remember getting home and the doors being completely unlocked, which is, if I know nobody listening knows my parents, especially my mom, but that chick locks some fucking doors, let me tell you. Back in the day, she's the kind of, you have the security door and you have the big wooden door, and each of them has 2 locks. She would lock all 4. I don't get it. I don't need to feel that, secure in order to feel safe. Mm-hmm. Some people do, and I get it, and I respect it. I just don't feel that way. So, getting home from school was a very weird thing to come home to. And I came home, and I seem to recall something being out of place. It may have been, a painting that was, or a picture that was on the wall. Mm-hmm. Had fallen off, or...
Well, I think you would probably notice that.
Well, I'm trying... again, something triggered... I don't remember what triggered my suspicion. But, I remember thinking to myself, there's a very real possibility that there's somebody in the house. Mm-hmm. There's a very real thing. So, I think I was 16, 17. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I'm by myself. I'm a grown-ass man, even though 16-year-olds really aren't grown-ass men, but...
They're really not.
I was a grown-ass man. Anybody who needs to assert the fact that they're a grown-ass man is probably not a grown-ass man. But I'm like, oh, I can handle this. So I remember going to the kitchen immediately, looking in the living room and not seeing anything. And then going into the kitchen and grabbing, a big, butcher knife. Mm-hmm. That my mom just had for cooking. And I scoped out the entire house. I checked all the closets, I checked every room, I checked all of the shit, and didn't find anything. It apparently was likely just a weird set of coincidences that just happened to be on the same day, with the doors being unlocked and something being out of place. Mm-hmm. But I remember that being terrifying, where it's just I very real might have to fight for my life here in just a second.
You're about to go, like, single white virgin in a horror movie, screaming her head off.
If I was 16, I was still a virgin, so I had a good shot. But my problem was I was a guy, so, like, I don't know how it would have fared. Like, most guys in a horror movie are not virgins, and but, like...
It's because you touch yourself at night.
Well, it's because I also wasn't a stoner. Because the stoner kids last forever, too.
Yeah.
But, I was 9th or something, like...
Cabin in the Woods type shit.
I don't know how I'm going to fare in a horror movie scenario. Because I've got, conflicting things that, good and bad as far as horror movie tropes go. But I didn't find anything. I think the other humorous one was... Okay. Is actually going to get a little graphic. But this is something that was terrifying.
Are we talking PG-13 or are we talking about rated R?
Rated R.
Rated R.
Rated R starts Friday.
The 13th. Which is this Friday. This is the best podcast.
So, as a young man, I partook in, let's just call it, adult literature.
So porn.
No. Adult literary material.
So old lady books.
That had pictures.
So Playboys.
It was also videos, because I grew up at a good time for porn. I mean adult literature. There was always something about looking at porn.
You mean adult literature?
Adult literature while other people were home that was terrifying, and it added a layer of suspense.
I've heard of this, yeah.
Fear behind a good, let's use the British term, wank. It added a whole nother level to that experience. So, all right. Every guy, and most girls, I'm going to be honest, most girls look at porn, don't judge me. Even though, Sam, I know you haven't, it's just me, I don't get it.
I'm weird.
What are you going to do? You'd have your days when you're home alone, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna treat myself to a little good time. I'm 15. I got nothing better to do. I was playing World of Warcraft and masturbating all day. What can I say?
You mean looking at adult?
Looking at adult literary material. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, there was always a level of anxiety and fear that was added to that session. That just a little bit made it a little better.
Oh gosh.
So that's my story, and I know I took it to an uncomfortable place, but damn it, we're here. I'm not queer, but that's okay if you are.
Lotion and Kleenex stock must have gone up 12%.
I was never a lotion and Kleenex guy.
Well, Kleenex went up 12%, or whatever the hell you were using. Jeez.
I was never I never needed additives to.
We're gonna move on.
To what
I don't need to hear about your wanking session.
What I call a masturbatorium.
Blah blah blah
which is
blah blah
your
blah.
sacred place.
I'm sticking these little
where you can do that.
Little things in my ears now. La 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 la.
So anyway, Sam, how was your childhood?
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and church ridden, which church isn't. The church isn't bad. It can definitely. It's a sense of community, and it could be good for some people. But I was in a very strict household where demon possessions were a fucking sure for real thing. But, according to my grandpa, as I'm 8 years old and I go up to him and asking him, Grandpa, as we hear about, what was it, I Am Legion, we just went through that in the Bible. And I asked my grandpa, Grandpa, are demon possessions still real? And he just looks at me and...
Yes.
Yeah. But don't worry, he says matter-of-factly. It wouldn't happen this day and age, basically, and I'm still, fucking terrified of that shit.
It won't happen as long as you don't touch yourself.
Yeah, and since I'm a girl, that's just
yeah, right?
Don't even think about it.
I was grown up. I was brought up. We were religious.
Yeah.
Though we weren't church going.
Mm-hmm. I went to church every Sunday, otherwise I'd burn in hell.
No. My mom, I believe we were Protestant. I believe it was some other denomination, but Protestant was the sect, right?
Okay.
And I was raised and told that it was basically just a fact. Like, Jesus died and there's God and all stuff. And I'm not trying to get into any sort of religious debate or anything. I'm just sharing my own personal views and my own upbringing. I always kind of just accepted it as just like, oh, this is just some boring shit I have to do during the summers and stuff. And then when I got older, I, became an atheist.
Dun 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 dun!
Rated R starts Friday. So when that happened, I found out that a lot of the terror behind demonic possession, movies like The Exorcist, and all of the things about the balance between good and evil, and hauntings and stuff like that, are very heavily based in religion. Where if you believe in an afterlife, and if you believe in demons are from hell and all that stuff. So when you eliminate the belief of all of the origins of all of these things, they become not scary. That was why The Exorcist never really got to me. Even though my mom, it's like her like the scary movie that hits her the hardest.
Yeah.
But like for me, they don't really get to me.
Some movies don't really get to me, but like when I was younger and like the The Fourth Kind, like those movies came out, and Paranormal Activity. No, The Fourth Kind, it was a movie. Like there's four different types of aliens, and the fourth kind is hostile, and they take you away to their planet, whatever. I don't know. It was fucking weird. My sister was super into them. I was never into aliens. But, like, those movies scared the shit out of me, because it usually dealt with, like, some weird possession, and then there's really nothing to look at. Like, the camera's always moving around so fast that there's really nothing to look at, and you're too afraid to look anyway when you're a kid.
Sure.
But, growing up, yeah, that stuff kind of terrified me. A lot doesn't really terrify me nowadays. Like, we discussed it. It was fucking awesome.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. I was not terrified. I wasn't scared, like, at all. But Alien Resurrection terrified the shit out of me as a kid.
Really? Alien
The chestburster scene, because I didn't even get to see where or how it was implanted.
It just happened.
In the chest. I just see like this guy freaking out, and then suddenly this thing comes to his chest.
I remember seeing Alien in my it's a hell of a thing that it puts
that
you
happens.
through. Yeah,
yes,
definitely. Because there's
that movie. That movie had me sleeping with a fucking pillow over my head for like 3 years because I thought that it was just like. Basically, the parasite was like a little bean or a worm, and it just crawled through your ear because I had no idea how it got in there. And then it just kind of like went down your throat and into your chest. But no, the real fucking version is far more terrifying. It fucking gets its fucking tail into your mouth and fucking... And then it just fucking impregnates your chest, and it's just like, fucking hug face hugger. And I'm just, no, it's not a good hug. I'm so upset right now.
Rated R starts Friday. Alien's a good movie. I mean, like, just objectively, it's a gret horror movie. It's like, you only see the xenomorph for, like, 30 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
Well, alright, so, what was your first horror movie?
Oh, gosh. Oh, as far back as I can remember, I really... Because, like, Killer Clowns, I could have...
No,
it was not, but...
That's the furthest thing from a horror movie there is.
The first one that I probably watched all the way through that scared me that I can remember would be Signs, but that's not really a horror movie.
Signs is, that's 2003.
Yeah.
You were, what,
I was like
12?
I was a major, excuse my language, I was a major fucking pussy. I actually actively used my diabetes to get out of watching horror movies, because like if I got too scared, I would go low. And I would just use that.
What made you like, what was the transition? Why do you like them now?
I don't know. I just started watching them with some friends and whatnot, and like, it was fucking hilarious to me after I started really getting into the tropes and whatnot. Insidious scared the shit out of me.
Insidious is good.
Insidious scared the shit out of me when it first came out. My brother figure, Ronnie, my roommate, her brother was in front of me, just sitting on the floor, and I'm on the couch, and he had a mohawk at the time, and I'm like freaking out, petting his mohawk, because I just needed something to focus on. I wasn't even watching the movie like 90% of the time. He just looks at me like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
That movie is done by James Wan, who did the original Saw.
Yeah.
Saw is my favorite horror franchise.
Saw is another good one. I think that's another thing, is that the psychological thrillers kind of built it up for me.
Sure.
So, Saw 7...
it's a special kind of horror, definitely.
Yeah, it's more psychological. Yeah. So, Saw 7, movies like that really got it for me, and then taking that next step with movies like Insidious, which I fucking love. It's like my favorite horror movie now.
Did you ever see The Silence of the Lambs?
Yes, I did.
So that's another good psychological horror.
Yeah, and that's not even really so much of a horror to me, but I guess that's more of like a family gathering, and we just happen to put it on TV. And we have the British version too.
Of Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah. First started over there, I believe.
With Anthony Hopkins?
No, not Anthony Hopkins.
Have you seen the movie with Anthony? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one that counts.
Yes, I know. The other one was kind of boring. But
well, there's Red Dragon, which is the not good one. Because basically they had discovered
Hannibal Rising sucked. Well,
Hannibal Lecter is good in small doses.
Yeah.
But he's very hard to base an entire film around. Yeah. Because you're not supposed to root for him.
No, you're not.
You know what I mean? It would be like they did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but focused on
Leatherface.
It wouldn't make for a good movie. There's no struggle.
Just you rooting for him to bite somebody's face off,
right.
or rip somebody's face off, bite somebody's face off. That too. But that scared the shit out of me too.
My first horror movie is I think it was 10. First one I remember. And my father was just like, hey, you would like this movie. And he put on Nightmare on Elm Street for a 10-year-old. So, Nightmare on Elm Street revolves around dreams and going to sleep.
Yeah.
Guess who didn't sleep for like a week? And
Your sister?
My mother blamed my father that I was always tired the next morning because I was refusing to sleep.
I never got into Nightmare on Elm Street. I was always more of a Michael Myers fan.
Halloween is
my favorite. It was the first of its kind back then, the first of the slasher kind of genre.
Well, yeah, it was super super indie. It was John Carmichael, or whatever his name is, John Carpenter. Mm-hmm. He did the score himself, that haunting fucking score.
Oh, he's a musician.
But yeah, he filmed it, I think it was on $1,000 budget. The Michael Myers mask.
Yeah, I was going to say the mask.
Was a reused William Shatner
They took
mask.
a William Shatner mask from Star Trek, and then they melted it slightly.
No, they painted it white.
Really? I heard that they melted it a bit and then painted it.
They did. They messed with it a little bit. They got after I think 2 or 3 movies, they got a cease and desist from the company that owns Star Trek.
To not use that specific mask.
So that's why there's a subtle change in mask.
I've actually been thinking since I heard that about getting a William Shatner mask and then just fucking with it to the point where it looks like Michael Myers.
Well, at this point, you just get a Michael Myers mask.
Yeah.
It might be easier.
It's not the same.
You don't have to, take less and make more out of it.
I also want to just try and make the Michael Myers mask with a Shatner mask, and every time somebody comes by and says Shatner, I'm just gonna be like, boom, 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 random pose.
I don't even think they would sell that mask anymore.
Probably not.
I mean, this is in the 1970s.
Not until he passes away. Knock on wood.
He's gonna pass away eventually.
Yeah, everybody does.
It's one of those things. But that particular mask, I doubt they sell.
Yeah, probably.
You would just want to get
the Michael Myers
mask.
Yeah.
I went as Michael Myers one year for Halloween.
Yeah.
And what we did was we bought the mask, but we did extra stuff for the hair. Like the hair wasn't right.
Yeah, the hair always looks like crud.
So we spray painted the hair and did a bunch of stuff. And I bought this $100. Fucking my girlfriend at the time was crazy. This $100 suit that was just like a painter's uniform almost. that we had taken all the tags off. That looked like the jumpsuit that Michael.
That's all you need, yeah.
It was $100.
It was probably an actual
and my
jumpsuit.
Girlfriend demanded that we buy because she was going as Freddy Krueger and her brother was going as Jason Voorhees.
Okay, so the 3.
Yeah, so like hers was done, and her brother's was done, and I still needed mine. So it was just like it was basically an ultimatum, like you either gonna buy this $100 jumpsuit or we're gonna break up right now. So I'm like, all right,
rude, fucking rude, rude. Speaking of costumes, though, Conan and I went to Spirit Halloween, and we ended up just farting around in the store, and apparently now he's going as a Minotaur.
How's that gonna work?
I have no idea. We found this cow head mask that the mouth opens and closes like with your mouth, and his head is just big enough to make it work. Yeah, so we bought the head, and now he's getting a suit of armor together to like make it so he could be a Minotaur for Halloween.
Kid, man, let me tell you.
He's gonna be running around topless, just like fucking screaming his head off, scaring children.
That kid, let me tell you.
That grown ass child. It's gonna be terrifying.
So, what is your? All right, we're going back to talk about just horror in general. Which classic horror monster do you like the most? The werewolf, the vampire, the mummy, the zombie?
I do enjoy vampire movies, like old vampire movies. Like up until probably Interview with a Vampire, because that was like my favorite movie as a teenage emo kid.
Did you like Underworld?
I never really got to watch it too much.
Oh, man.
I've seen it. Favorite. I couldn't get super into it. Every time I came in when Veronica was watching it too, it was always the sex scene.
Yeah. Underworld was my favorite. I mean, like, that was vampires done right.
Yeah.
Was Underworld, because it came out like a couple years before Twilight, and Twilight started the whole, like, Twilight the book, Twilight.
Yeah.
And that started the whole vampires as a romantic interest thing that I don't understand why it went down that direction.
Well, there have always been, like, those kind of stories. None of them just got as big as Twilight, because Twilight is more geared towards young girls.
But after Twilight, there was just this huge sea of vampire romance novels. Mm-hmm. And they tried to do, what was the movie, Warm Bodies?
I actually saw that, and it was...
They tried to do it with the zombie.
It kind of is a giant joke, that movie, I feel.
It's a very bad movie.
Yeah, so if you don't know what Warm Bodies is, it's basically a kid who's a zombie who has some sort of train of thought left.
He's a zombie who's not a zombie.
Yeah, and he
falls in love with a girl.
Falls in love with a girl.
And the girl falls in love with him.
Because he ate her boyfriend's brain. Yeah. He also retains the memories from her boyfriend.
It's a fucking train.
It's really weird.
But like then the girl falls in love with the zombie, and her dad's like, "You can't fuck a zombie." And then like I, as an audience, was just like, I mean, I get it. I get why her dad's upset.
Fuck a zombie. You know, a male zombie, and then
I imagine that's when rigor mortis would add be a good thing to have.
Oh gosh,
eternal stiffness, Lauren.
What?
Lauren, why did I call you Lauren?
I don't know.
I'm used to saying weird things to my friend Lauren.
We call her the Duke.
But eternal stiffness. You can't ask for more than that.
I need an adult. Rated R.
I'm just gonna rated R starts Friday. I'm making it my goal just to make you as uncomfortable as possible during this podcast. As uncomfortable as possible.
I'm just gonna pet these toy cats I brought.
Don't pet the toy cats. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve your love.
Okay.
What have they done for anybody?
They just kind of sit there and make me happy during my time of anxiety.
You don't deserve to be happy.
That's fucking rude!
That was me, and I apologize. I regretted that as soon as I said it. I apologize. Alright, so, favorite horror... So, vampire was your answer.
Yeah, I do enjoy vampires. Well. Yeah, I do enjoy Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein I grew up with, especially. Mm-hmm. And I fucking love that. Gene Wilder was amazing.
Well, it's like, I like that one iteration of Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. I also like Van Helsing's iteration of Frankenstein.
That was a pretty good one, yeah.
But, like, I don't like the idea of Frankenstein more than I like the idea of vampires. Mm-hmm. Like, vampires are just cool. Vampires just, and I'm, talking as a, speaking as a Dungeons and Dragons kid.
Vampires go back centuries as well. It's just lore and
vampires for the most part don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about them. Mm-hmm.
Gary Oldman is Dracula.
I was catching up with an old friend that I used to play. He's much older. He was my mom and my father's friend that they played Dungeons and Dragons with.
Wow, your parents played D&D?
Yeah, that's how I got into it. I started playing when I was 10 years old.
It's way fucking cooler than my parents. My parents just kind of divorced.
I mean, my parents did that too, but that's not until I was like 19. So.
Yeah, I was like 3. Great childhood.
But we were just catching up on stories, and he was telling me about how they go into this bar, as in a D&D group. They go into this bar, and the bartender, they are immediately charmed by the vampire, and the bartender is just like, hey, why don't you open that door? That thing you're looking for is through that door. And I am like, well, that's just throwing up all my vampire red flags. Come to find out, yeah, it definitely was a vampire, and they killed him. And then everybody else in the town rioted against the party because the vampire was just a cool dude. He operated as a bartender during the nights. He didn't kill anybody. He just was a nice guy who just happened to be a vampire. And that's what I like about vampires, is they can just be cool. Like, the whole thing with werewolves is they lose control.
Yeah.
And vampires kind of have that too, with bloodlust and stuff like that, but like it's not to the same extent.
I had friends who were really into werewolves versus vampires, because like as we were in high school, it wasn't until like we were like almost 16, so our junior year, that Twilight came out. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of my friends were into like the vampire, lichen, werewolf type things, and basically, not trying to bash them or anything, they basically drew stuff to the point where it was borderline porn. I mean,
that's just high school.
Yeah, that's just high school.
That's just what we did in high school.
Sorry, I was also kind of like thinking...
I couldn't draw my own porn, unfortunately. I couldn't draw. If I could have drawn, there would have been boobies, let me tell you.
I accidentally drew, like, a porn of, like, my ex.
Wait, hold on, go back.
Yeah.
I'm going to question your choice of words.
Yeah.
How do you accidentally draw porn? Like, that just happened to be a vagina. I meant for that to be a shoe. That's a vagina.
It started out as one thing, and then, like, it ended up being my current boyfriend at the time kissing another man, and I thought that was hot. It's not even really porn, but...
That's not... Yeah. Oh, no, that's... That,
and I'm like...
That's called...
I am so ashamed of it, though. Like, I have never told him, and we, like, broke up, like... 3 years ago.
Oh, I thought you said this is... Oh.
No.
This is at your time, not your current boyfriend.
No. This was like... Actually, no. Yeah, it was like 5 years ago.
We broke... current boyfriend.
My current boyfriend at that time, and then we ended up dating later.
It's the improper use of that word. The boyfriend I had at the time. Currently means happening now.
Yeah, that... and I just
that's
never
called yaoi, and especially in girls in high school, that is a very common. South Park did a whole episode about it. Yeah, Tweak and Craig.
Tweak and Craig.
Yeah, that's
love
very much
all the time.
Done that a lot in high school.
I love you forever.
I couldn't draw. Couldn't do. I can play music, but you can't make music pornographic other than making 70s porn music sounds. And that just implies porn. And it's not quite the same.
How is this becoming the porn episode?
Look, we just got to accept that porn is a part of our world. And can we just, for a second, take a second out of our day to thank Pornhub for the wonderful sex education that they provide and the money that they donate to breast cancer research and how much wonderful and good that Pornhub does for us as the human race.
Yay!
Thank you, Pornhub. I appreciate it. I personally appreciate it.
I don't know what that's supposed to be. Where are we going? You were talking about, you and in high school, and then you mentioned that you've been playing D&D since you were 10 years old because of your parents, and I was trying to think of what I got for my 10th birthday.
Yeah, what did you do when you were 10?
Well, I just realized that the 10th birthday was actually the only birthday party that I had that was good, and we went to Soak City, so I can't say anything.
I went to Soak City as a kid. Shit is awesome.
Yeah.
The shit is only awesome as a kid, though.
Yeah, because then you realize just how much pee it smells.
Being an adult makes you aware of things.
Yeah.
Like, that is not a chocolate bar floating in the pool.
No.
That's poop.
Unless there's a very smart child out there who has seen Caddyshack. Which I had seen Caddyshack.
Smart? I don't know about smart. Is Caddyshack smart?
It's smart,
I like
dumb.
the movie.
It's smart, dumb.
It's.
I got no respect.
It's dumb humor for smart people.
I ain't got no respect at all.
My favorite fact about that movie is that Bill Murray had no lines throughout the whole thing. They just let him improv his entire character.
That works.
He did an amazing job. Okay, franchises. Horror franchises. Not like pizza franchise. Like Pizza Hut, Papa John's.
What's it called?
Pizza franchises? Papa John's the winner. Y'all can suck it. Pizza Hut made me throw up, and Domino's is just gross. Pizza Hut is, I believe the technical term is edible.
Meh. I mean, if I'm really hungry, I guess I'll eat it, but I also will probably hate myself.
But anyway, favorite horror franchise and why? What do you...
How about you go first so that I can just, like, make sure I'm...
So you can Google horror movies and pick one?
Yeah.
Cool.
What do you say?
I love Saw. Well, Saw is my favorite, and I'm going to talk about Saw for a little bit. Because Saw started out... There's 7 movies, and there's an 8th one coming out that I'm going to want to talk about when it does come out.
Yeah.
But when the first Saw came out, I was too young to see it. I didn't see the first Saw until, I think, after the second movie had been released on DVD. And I was at a family reunion with my extended family, tons of people, and all the older kids were going to sit down and watch Saw and Saw 2. And they were like, Sean, my father, the man who was, of course, making great parental choices at the time, was like, hey, Sean, you are 11 years old. Do you want to watch Saw? And me, being 11 years old, was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah!
So I did. Not only did it terrify the fucking shit out of me, but it completely changed my whole perspective on what a horror movie is. So it's such a brilliant blend of storytelling and suspense and horror and gore, and at least the first movie.
Yeah. The second movie got a little too focused on the...
Well, that was the thing, is when they actually had the budget, they could actually do the gore.
Yeah.
In the first movie, all the gore is implied. He starts cutting his leg, and then as soon as it starts drawing blood, they cut away.
Yeah.
And then they use just blood spray.
Which sometimes it's kind of better that way, because you want to see it, but you also just want to look away.
Sure. Well, that's
so
the
you're
thing.
really terrifying. So what you can't see is what's left up to your mind, and that's what
Which
really
makes
freaks
it worse.
you out. Yeah.
Exactly. But so the first song blew my mind, and the twist in it. I won't give it away if you haven't seen the movie. I highly recommend it. Saw's a phenomenal movie. Okay, and then the second movie was different, still really good, very different. Way more of a focus on gore versus not necessarily suspense. I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it. But what they did right about the second movie was you got to sit down with Jigsaw. There's this whole back and forth between the detective investigating the case and Jigsaw at the scene of the crime. And you really get to delve into that. The character who did all the shit in the first movie, whom you never really spoke to, now you get to have a full-on conversation with him and really examine his personality and why he's doing what he's doing. And I think every movie has offered something new and there have been good movies and they've been really bad movies that I still like,
Well, what's your least favorite out of all? There's 6 of them now?
There's 7.
Okay,
6
and then 7 coming out.
Well, no, 8 is coming out.
Okay, 8 is
There's
coming
7 movies that have been released. My least favorite was probably it's either 4 or 5. I think probably 4. Just because 4 was a little convoluted. And didn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah, they're just kind
of... the ending, the twist ending for 4 is so out of left field. Because usually what they do is they give you a bunch of clues leading up to it. So it's up to you as the viewer to kind of put those puzzle pieces together so that...
Jigsaw.
Exactly. That's exactly a great analogy. But when they finally put the puzzle pieces together at the end of the movie... you can see how it all came together and be like, oh, yeah, of course. I totally get it. I can't believe I didn't get that. That's a good way to do a twist ending, where you're given all the information. They're just, pieces. Saw 4 did not end that way. Saw 4 ended with a out-of-left-field thing. Again, I'm trying not to do spoilers here.
Spoiler, it's been like forever.
Okay, spoilers for... I'm just going to say from here on out, no restraint on spoilers for the Saw series. Go ahead and skip forward if you want, if you don't want to hear spoilers. But anyway, so Saw 4 ends with a new accomplice. And the accomplice is one of the detectives who's been investigating the case.
Ooh.
Right, so, but like, he's had... It was so out of left field because it didn't feel warranted. Like, it didn't feel earned, that twist.
Yeah.
Just because, like, there wasn't enough pieces for you to even kind of suspect him. I mean, he was just a weird dude, but, like, there wasn't enough for you to be like, oh yeah, he's probably working with Jigsaw. They have probably one or two different things where, like, they mention there's a second accomplice other than Amanda.
Who's been there since the first movie?
Who's been there, doing all this heavy lifting and shit.
Yeah.
But then it stands up and it's Detective Hoffman. It's the cop. And at the end of 4, you're like, what the fuck? What? How is that? Why even? And then, okay, so then that happens, and you're like scratching your head at the end of the movie. That movie took a whole nother movie, which is Saw 5, to explain the ending to Saw 4. It basically gave the origin story of why Hoffman is working for Jigsaw.
And that's just like, it feels like that with 4, they just were like, oh, we're just going to make the money and do a really shoddy, quick film real quick and get the money.
Yeah, there's a right way and a wrong way to do a twist.
Yeah.
And 4 happened to just be the wrong way. It was just, it was something...
Could you at least see where they were trying, what they were trying to do?
Absolutely. It was very much like, hey, expect the unexpected, you never know who's working with Jigsaw. That was kind of, I think, the point, but it was too out of left field. It was too weird.
There was no real reason.
Yeah, and if your twist needs a whole other movie to explain that twist, it's probably not a good twist.
Yeah, and so I really love Insidious, as I stated earlier. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of Insidious 2. Because I feel like that they really didn't have to tie in a lot of the stuff that they did into that happened in 1. Mm. And I haven't even seen the third movie yet. I saw the Lipstick Demon, as they call him, the red and black demon. Mm-hmm. They call him the Lipstick Demon. I saw him and I'm just like, they don't even have the same like makeup prosthetics or anything like that. His face is much rounder. They didn't give him the really gaunt face and high cheekbones and stuff like that. And that kind of like really disappointed me.
I did feel very much like the first Insidious
was something so new. It was
not only new, but special. A lot of love went into it.
Yeah.
But it felt like the subsequent movies were a bit of a cash grab.
Yeah, did you... I'm guessing that they probably didn't expect it to be that big.
Well, that's what James Wan is. James Wan, left after doing the first Saw. And I think he produced the future Insidious movies, but I don't think he directed them.
It's not.
He directed the first.
It's not Insidious. His love child.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I love Insidious. It was like so trippy for me, because like I said earlier, demon possession for me is so very real. And then, they don't usually freak me out. They're kind of like a bit but like when they brought out the gas mask in one scene... And then the medium is just kind of like sitting there whispering, and you see her jerking around in her seat. That like freaked me the fuck out. Because you're hearing all these like noises that don't necessarily come from a human that isn't suffering or in pain. Mm-hmm. That's what terrifies me.
Well, that's a very common use for monsters, is give something human-like features, but make it make sounds that humans don't make. Which is very unsettling. Oh yeah,
if you look at the Lipstick Demon, like his costume is so cheaply made. Yeah, it's just a black bodysuit with like fur leggings and like some possibly CGI, if not fake hooves.
That's what's great about horror, is it doesn't need to be expensive and extravagant.
The Babadook is like, I think it's like super low budget. Like it's just a guy in a top hat with like Edward Scissorhands.
They show it for like 2 seconds. You never really see.
You never actually see the Babadook.
And that's the best kind of horror, is where the less you see of a monster, the scarier it is, because your imagination is doing all of the work for what it is, what it could be, what it could do. That's why Pennywise was a really good horror villain, because you knew he could transform into whatever you were afraid of at any given time and do create images of anything. It was always unexpected. So even though they showed the clown wasn't scary. The clown never really scared you, other than he would jump out every once in a while.
Yeah.
But it was the other shit. It was the woman coming out of the painting.
I wasn't even really terrified of Pennywise. I was more terrified of what Pennywise would project.
Exactly.
That's what terrifies the fuck out of me. Because I know as long as I'm not scared, I'm fucking safe.
Yeah. Exactly. But, so, is Insidious your favorite?
It probably is. I love Insidious. I have a couple horror movies, now that I think about it, on my movie shelf at home. Like, I really liked the Children of the Corn series, but I only saw, like, 2 or 3 of the movies.
Children of the Corn's good.
Yeah,
Stephen King.
it's Stephen King. Carrie is my favorite book of Stephen King. But what pisses me off is that it's so different from the movies that the first movie... was a good adaptation. It was very different, but with the remake that came out in 2015, 2014, it was so like the first movie, I was really disappointed because they could have taken a lot from the book and just added it to that movie, but instead they decided to do a quick cash grab and do what's already been done, which made me sad.
Can I rant about a Stephen King movie?
Is it The Dark Tower?
No.
Stand By Me.
No. So it's a little film called Pet Sematary.
Oh, okay.
I would like to rant about it.
Go for it.
If that's cool.
Yeah.
I think this is the appropriate time and form. Since we're getting on a Stephen King kick anyway.
Fucking Stephen King!
So Pet Sematary is one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen. The story may not be bad. I have to admit, I've never read the story. But the movie itself, 1, did not warrant a sequel. And 2, is the stupidest pile of garbage I've ever seen. So, okay. So
don't you know that if you, me, being a listener who is smart and has read the book and has glasses because I'm smart, don't you know that, like, reading the book is, like, so much better than just seeing the movie?
I hate you. I hate everything about you. But I love you.
Well, you can suck my little chode. Wait.
Suck my little chode.
Wait a second. Okay.
So, rant. Pet Sematary rant coming on. Because the premise of this movie, here's a basic synopsis, is the man and wife move with their son to this small town. And they live across the street from an old man. But the old man is just genuinely creepy. If you see that episode of South Park where the Butter's Very Own episode where he's like,
"Oh yeah,
you want to get to South Park, gotta go down that road. A lot of history down that road." That's based on that character.
Oh, okay.
It is from Pet Sematary.
So it's the same one, yeah, when Butters dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Butters dies, and don't you dare go to that Indian burial ground. It won't bring your son back. It'll bring him back.
So,
but the same.
Well, that's kind of what that episode was based on, is Pet Sematary. Because basically what happens is they find out that there's an Indian burial ground nearby where they live. Mm-hmm. And the old man was talking about, like, oh, yeah, I buried my dog there, and he came back to me. Old Spot came back to me, but he wasn't Spot anymore. He was turned sour. That ground is sour. He said sour a lot. Like, it was milk that had been left out, but it was like an undead dog.
So instead of lemonade, it's just lemon juice without the sugar.
Yeah, exactly. It's gross. So the family and the son have a dog that dies and gets hit by a car because I think like there's a whole subplot about how the street that they live on has no stop sign or stop light, and it's like you can go 70 miles an hour down that road even though it's residential, which I can't think of any place in the United States that works like that. But
what year is this set in?
What are you gonna do? I want to say like 20s or 30s.
Okay.
No, it'll be later than that. It might be 70s, 80s.
Maybe one of the roads.
Because it is paved roads.
One of the roads that I take home, you can go like 55, and everybody goes like 70.
But is it residential?
Not quite.
Exactly.
There's a school.
This is like houses on this road.
Yeah.
Anyway, so their dog gets hit by a car, and the dad's just like, that old man had a really good point about burying his dog. Even though the old man was just like, oh, but Spot came back and tried to kill people.
That's how we got Cujo.
What the dad had heard from that story is, if I bury the dog in the Indian burial ground, he'll come back to life, and I won't have to explain death to my child.
Which is a much easier thing to do.
So that's what he does. And he goes and he buries the dog. And, of course, the dog comes back. And the dog tries to maul the child, I think. And then they have to kill the dog again in order to make that happen. So, all of that happens. The kid gets hit by a car. And dies. So, after all of this knowledge, what does the dad do? Take him to the hospital, bury him and grieve with his wife. He attacks on Charlie Hall Pet Cemetery and buries his son.
Like a dog.
In hopes that he will come back. Fun story. The kid does come back, but is like straight up evil. And it's like not like mindless evil. Like it's actual malevolence with intelligence in his eyes. Because like he goes home, back to his house, goes up the stairs and gets a scalpel and then kills his mom.
Ah.
Yeah.
Rude.
Well, like it was like you can tell that there was thought behind it.
Yeah.
And then he fights with the dad, and I think the dad has to kill him, and then goes crazy, and something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, I would.
That movie got a sequel. I don't know why. It's the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard of. Basically, the whole time, the old man is just like, "Don't bury things in the pet cemetery," and then the dad's like, "Hey. We should bury things in the pet cemetery."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the kid kills the old guy, too. I forget how that happens, but the kid kills the old guy first, and then goes home, kills his mom, and then fights with the dad.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a...
I still haven't seen it.
Stupid
It's on one of my lists. It's on one of my lists.
I highly recommend, like, I want to be honest with you, I highly recommend it. Just, like, watch it knowing what it is going into it. Because I watched it thinking it might be good, because Stephen King usually puts out...
Yeah.
You guys the wrong way to watch that movie.
Oh my gosh. Do you think if they remade it, it could be better?
Maybe. But again, it's the actual plot itself that I have a problem with. It's the dad being unexcusably stupid.
Well, didn't they make Cell into like...
Cell?
Yeah, it's like everybody's being turned into zombies or dying because of their cell phones.
Oh, I don't know.
It's something weird. I don't know what it's really about. I just heard about it through a friend who was reading it at the time of its release in high school. I believe, or probably not in the time of its release. I don't want to say that, and then have someone be like, "Well, you see, here it was actually came out like 25 years ago, so technically you'd just be an embryo."
Do you remember when we watched Clown? I know we talked about it on the podcast already.
That really bad movie. That's another
one where it's just like, I just have nothing but complaints. Like, it's not even enjoyably bad. I just want to complain about
I was fine with it, but you were just kind of having a bad day.
I couldn't handle it. I was freaking out.
Yeah, you're like, no.
I was not handling that movie well.
You're like, no. Can't. I'm trying to think of, like, another movie.
So, alright, what's the most recently the best horror movie you've seen? Because they are pretty far and few in between.
You mean aside from It?
Besides It, yeah.
And the Babadook?
Because the It is the best horror movie in a very long time.
Yeah, that I've seen, personally. There's probably a few out there that I'm going to be like, oh, fuck yeah, I love that movie, but I really can't think of anything. I did see, like, Lady in Black? With Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, with Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, which I always want to say Harry Potter, because that's more likely.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. I always want to say that, but I don't really remember it. I know it got a sequel, which I didn't say. I didn't see that. Babadook got me good, and then I kind of put it under the microscope and started pulling it apart.
How it's a movie about grief.
Yeah.
That's what the movie
it's a literal manifestation of grief. Just fucking deal with it, and the mother's insane, and the kid's just... piece of shit. Yeah. Well, that kid was giving me a panic attack in that movie. A lot of horror
movies are like that, where like you watch it as a viewer and just like, yeah, but like if you just did this, you wouldn't have the problem. Like I feel that way about The Shining. Like, had you just fucking stayed sane just a little bit, it would have been
just
fine.
A little bit, yeah.
The last movie I saw, I think it was back in 2015, 2014 it came out. The Conjuring.
I have not seen The Conjuring. So, I have seen Annabelle.
Again, well, okay, I've seen Annabelle as well. Annabelle is not nearly as good.
That's what I hear.
Because there's The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2, then Annabelle, which is a prequel, and then there's Annabelle Creation, which just came out, which is a sequel to the prequel.
Is it?
But, yeah, it's a sequel to the prequel, but before Conjuring 1.
Okay, they were advertising it like it was a prequel of the prequel, and I was like, no.
Well, oh, that's right. You know what? You're absolutely right. It's a prequel for that prequel. Because it is how Annabelle gets created. Yeah. And Annabelle the movie is about how they came across,
Which is odd because she was also created in the first prequel, Annabelle, but whatever.
What are you going to do?
We're just going to fucking forget that.
But so the first Conjuring, so like everybody was hyping it up to me. Now again, going back off what I was previously saying earlier, haunting movies don't usually get me. Mm-hmm. They just don't. I mean, like, it's one of those things, like, it's... My mind doesn't work the way that it should work in order for it to be scary.
Nah.
But so everybody who I worked with at the time, I was working at Best Buy at the time.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, Sean, these movies do not get to me. The Conjuring got to me. And these are people I respected in their opinions. And I was like, all right, well, fine. Okay. Let's take a look, and I'm gonna go watch it. And I watched it. It was good. Mm-hmm. It was not nearly as scary as everybody thought. But that's just because my mother saw it with her neighbor, and they both lost their goddamn minds watching it. But The Conjuring, I will admit, is a very good horror movie.
Well, what makes it so good?
It's suspense, haunting horror done correctly. It's a very slow burn to a very high, quick climax.
Okay.
And it starts out very subtle, and then progressively gets worse and worse. It's not like the Amityville horror, where it's just like, oh, shit's crazy, and just what's happening. It was done correctly. You can tell it was done with a lot of people who were passionate about the project.
Yeah. Because Annabelle is based off an actual doll.
Hmm?
Yeah. So there were probably a bunch of people who just were really excited, like, oh my gosh, we get to research this real doll.
What's funny
it's
about
haunted.
The Conjuring is Annabelle is barely even in it.
Okay.
So there's two people who are paranormal investigators, and they have a house.
Yeah.
And they're married, and they have a room filled with evil, possessed objects.
Yeah, which they also sell tours for in real life.
Forgot but their names. They have a priest come and bless it every other week.
Every week, yeah.
Whatever. But Annabelle's in there, and like somebody's like, "Ooh, what's this?" And they're like, "Stay away from that. That's the evilest thing in here. We don't fuck with that thing." And then they just kind of leave, and then do the Conjuring shit.
Okay.
And it wasn't until Annabelle where that doll was really explored fully.
And I'm like the only person I know between all of my friends that actually really likes dolls. I grew up with porcelain dolls. I thought that they were pretty. I wanted to be like them when I was younger because I was told I was ugly as fuck by all my classmates, but whatever.
That's just rude.
Yeah, they were rude kids.
You're not ugly as fuck, Sam.
I went to a rude school. But anyway.
Everybody went to a rude school. I was called fat. Now, to their credit, I was fat.
Oh.
So.
You know.
I was a husky young man.
You know, when I told my nieces, like, oh, I'm doing a podcast with Sean, they're all like, oh, Lily. Oh, what's it called? That's my Lily voice. And I'm just like, Chubby Cheese with a side of Sammich podcast. And Lily got so defensive because she just absolutely loves you. She's like, oh, you don't call him Chubby. And I'm just like, no, honey, he calls himself that. I'm sorry.
Myself Chubby since 2009.
But she's just like, oh. And she kind of thinks real hard and her brows furrowed together. This is like an 11-year-old girl. She's like, well, he still shouldn't call himself Chubby. And she kind of like walks away like, you're the most beautiful person on the planet. And she's trying to defend you.
She's too precious for this world.
She's too precious. She'll probably steal a car when she's like hits that her teens or something.
It's those innocent ones. Those are the ones that always get into trouble.
Yeah, well, anyway. Oh gosh, what was I saying? So The Conjuring. So, yeah, when I went and saw Annabelle, I like dolls.
Sure.
I love dolls. Like, I had a whole porcelain doll collection for a long time until they got wrecked in a move and whatnot. Fucking movers. Anyway, I saw one look at that doll out of the box, and I was just like, hell fucking no, I would not take that doll. Look at all the other dolls you have in your room, lady. What the fuck is wrong with that doll? It looks like an evil clown gave birth to the Elephant Man's child.
Whoa! It's a really specific description.
Yeah, especially since he's a really nice guy. But the evil clown bit, yeah.
Nice.
I just really...
Can I tell you a doll story from my childhood? My grandparents had dolls.
Yeah.
And there's one doll in particular. I was very young. It's called a timeout doll. Basically, it's a doll that it's a doll that you put in the corner. It's got its head in its arms, and its arms are crossed over its face.
Like it's leaning up against the wall.
And then you put it in the corner.
Yeah.
It's a timeout doll. It was always just kind of around.
Yeah.
Like, I never paid much attention to it. Mm-hmm. But as I got older, by the age of 3, 4, 5, I got a little more inquisitive about things.
Yeah.
So, as a 5-year-old, this doll that, to me, honestly, looks lifelike. From the back, genuinely looks like there's a kid.
No, my grandma had 2 of them, a boy and a girl.
They look real, like a real kid. So I go over to it, and I turn it around.
I did the same.
And they have no face.
They have no face. I did the exact same thing.
And that was terrifying to me.
They have no hands either. It's just like this weird carving or sewing, depending, of this weird mesh.
I freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, I did that too because my grandma told me that they were playing hide and seek. And one day I was just like, I'm gonna look at their face. I don't know why. I was just kind of scared to look at them or something. I guess I didn't want to disturb them because I felt that if I put enough belief in one thing, I would scare them or something. I don't know. Motherfucker scared me for life. It's like Slenderman's children.
When you're expecting a face and you don't get a face,
that's fucking
it's a very bad thing.
It's a very bad thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, as soon as you mentioned those, I remembered and I kind of just pooped myself a bit. Remembering back.
Is no bueno.
No, those things were terrifying.
Yeah, and they had a bunch of other dolls. I got less inquisitive that day, I think. That was the day I'm like, curiosity really did kill the cat.
Okay, so when I was younger, I went to school with Conan's little sister and his brother. His brother is a year younger than I, and his sister is a year older than me. And our bus would always, go to their house first, even though ours was first, usually. We'd go to their house, turn around, and then drop us off on the other side, as per protocol was. Oh my gosh, I just went.
Yeah.
Hold on. Oh my gosh.
You alright, Sam? You telling a really funny story. I was entranced. You had me captivated. It had a beginning and middle. I was waiting for the climax, the antagonist and the protagonist to have their final conflict. I was waiting for the theme. I was waiting for the conflict resolution. I was waiting for you to listen to me say more words which prevent you from thinking of the thing you were trying to think of. And you think that Ivan's going to cut all this out. You think Ivan's not going to let all this pass. But come to find out, it's definitely in this podcast.
I'm losing it. Hold on. Oh my gosh.
You were talking about dolls. You were talking about how creepy they were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all I had to say was creepy dolls.
Yeah, it's not even a doll. Okay, anyway. So, anyway, they would always drop us off in front of Conan's house or, around the corner from Conan's house. And I would always see his brother and sister go to his house. And I found out that they don't actually live there. It's just, kind of a storage area. But their house... It has this creepy windmill that's kind of broken and it's leaning to one side and it just would kind of squeak and there would be all these weeds around and whatnot, and I always thought this would be the perfect place for a fucking horror movie.
Dude, honestly, I've seen his house, and if I was doing location scouting for a horror movie, his house would definitely.
And it's not. I hope he's listening and it's just laughing his ass off. Yeah.
I doubt he's even laughing. I think he just knows. He's just sitting there nodding, yep.
I told Veronica, my roommate, about this when I was 16 and she first got her car. I'm like, yeah, fucking Conan's house has got a really creepy windmill outside. It just kind of squeaked a lot when I was a kid. She started laughing. She's like, yeah, that seems like somewhere Conan would live. No joke. Just yeah, don't fuck around with Conan.
So,
otherwise he'll get his grandma's dolls to come out and possess you. Haha. Haha. They're probably horse dolls. I don't know.
So do you have any, not to change the subject, but, do you have any Friday the 13th traditions? Do you have anything that you do?
No, not really. I think I might have had something when I was younger and I was superstitious. Super superstitious?
Super superstitious.
Super superstitious.
I used to date a girl who would get a tattoo. It was Friday the 13th.
Really?
Yeah, they got tattoos for super.
Ooh!
Did I just give you an idea?
Yeah, well, I don't want my grandma to hate me, but I kind of want the Gemini tattoo on the back of my neck.
Look, if she hates you because your skin is a different color, that's racist.
Yeah.
Be honest with you.
Okay, remember that episode of The Simpsons where Grandpa Simpsons talks about how his great-great-grandfather wasn't actually whoever it says he was, and like the woman who looked like Marge, which was supposed to be his great-great-grandmother, runs away with like a black man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then like at the end, he's just like, Lisa's like, why didn't you tell anybody? He's like, well, because, my generation is that one word, and we don't talk about it. And she's just like, you mean racist? That's it!
That's really... That episode's really funny, because the last joke of that show...
It's kind of true.
...is when they find... Bart and Lisa are just like, wow, we're 1/64th black. And
no wonder my Jags is so smooth.
Bart's like, no wonder I'm so cool. And Lisa's like, no wonder my jazz is so smooth. Oh, stereotypes. Aren't they wonderful?
African-American women are just, like, the most beautiful people on the planet, though. Sorry.
Well, that's just racist against everybody else.
Good.
You saying an Asian woman can't be as good or better as an African-American woman? Is that what you're saying to me right now? Look me in the eyes and tell me that's not what you're saying.
They can be.
Okay.
I'm actually pretty jealous. I was jealous of most Asian women growing up, to be completely honest.
Well, that's also racist. Love yourself and your body. Love who you are, Sam. See,
Tumblr, roast me because I'm a white woman.
Every podcast has a theme and a message. Today's...
Don't fuck with dolls.
Love yourself.
Don't fuck with the scary dolls.
Don't fuck with dolls.
No, my rule is don't fuck with Ouija boards. And I saw that Ouija movie, and that was so fucking stupid.
Yeah. Ouija boards are cool, though.
Have you ever messed with an Ouija board?
Yeah.
How did that go? Do you think somebody was moving it, or do you think there was an actual entity?
No, it's actually an interesting phenomenon. Not to get, bougie as fuck.
Talk about it.
But,
I'm here the shiz.
What typically happens is everybody puts their hands on it, right?
Yeah.
And it starts moving. And it's honestly because you're not resisting in any way. Mm-hmm. Little tiny micro movements that you do are carried over into other people. Mm-hmm. And so everybody, there's this group cognizant, thing that you're trying to get to say. If it moves to an S.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks, subconsciously, what would it be saying? Alright, so move it E.
Sandwich.
And then N, and then D, and then N, and then U, and then D, and then E, and then S. Because ghosts are kinky.
Why is a ghost always somebody from the 1700s or so? Why can't it be some 2007-year-old kid?
Why can't it be somebody who just has catchphrases of the time that they died?
Somebody's just I can't just roaming around and it's just can I has cheeseburger?
Oh my god.
They're roaming around with Inuyasha
Do you have batteries for my Game Boy?
Oh my gosh. You died trying to get to the 7-Eleven for more AAAs.
Oh my god.
Or double A's. How would you die? If you were a ghost. What do you think? Yeah, because most people think that ghosts come back because they either die super quickly and don't know what happened, or they have unfinished business. Would you have unfinished business?
I think I would have unfinished business. I think there would be I think I wouldn't have perturbed enough people. I wouldn't have annoyed... I don't think I'd be a scary ghost. I think I'd be that kind of ghost that would just sit around in your apartment and take up space. And, open your beers and shit. Granted, I know I'm primordial and ethereal and can't open shit, but, I would find a way.
I feel if a spirit is angry enough, or, a certain emotion, then they can do that stuff, and that's usually what, poltergeists are, I guess. If they're angry enough, they can use that.
I think, I would like to think I would be a ghost. I would just be like, "Sup, bro? Did you score Nicole's number?" Dude, bro, I just got home from work, man. Why don't you lay off my back? Hey, why don't you why don't you do laundry sometime? I would just be that. I would be that kind of ghost.
You'd be that asshole.
I would be just an asshole ghost that you couldn't get rid of.
And then, like, suddenly he does get Nicole's number, but she stands him up.
Oh, and then I gotta go haunt Nicole. Because that bitch...
Messing with your bro.
Cannot mess with my bro Steve. Steve is a good man, and Nicole deserves him. He doesn't deserve Nicole, but Nicole deserves him.
She too much of a hoe.
Well, if she's gonna stand Steve up, then hell yeah, I'm gonna go haunt the fuck out of her.
Fucking A. I keep picturing Nicole as, like, super blonde, super tan, super, like, puckered up lips. It's like basically, yeah, and just, like, all butt, no boobs.
Can I, to close out the podcast, can I tell a Nicole story?
Yes.
I don't know why Nicole is the name that popped in my head, but I do have a story that goes along with the name Nicole.
Oh, shiz.
When I was in 3rd grade.
Aw, baby Sean.
When I was in 3rd grade, my first kiss was with a girl named Nicole. We were boyfriend and girlfriend as much as you could be in 3rd grade.
Yeah, so you're
you know
holding hands.
We held hands, and that was a little too forward.
Oh!
Like, oh, I can feel her skin.
Oh, my hands are so sweaty.
Let me see your ankles. That was how it was in the 1800s.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I would like to think I was in 3rd grade in the 1800s.
Okay.
So we were boyfriend. I don't want to use the term dating because that's not.
As he's doing air quotes.
Yeah,
I
got so many air quotes going on right now. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, and I moved away. Well, I didn't move away. I moved to the opposite side of the town. I moved from one end of Santee to the other. And I changed schools. And after 3rd grade, I stopped going to that school.
Yeah.
We never broke up.
I was going to say, are you still technically dating this Nicole?
So, again, I haven't spoken to her since.
Do you remember her last name?
Nope.
Damn, I was going to say, I'm going to look this woman up.
But I'm going to tell you,
tell her she's not good enough for Steve.
True petrifying thought is that she has, like, built a shrine to me. Not that I'm, like, not to sound conceited or anything, but,
oh,
like...
Sean!
But, like,
Sean!
Yeah, that
she's
been,
him.
like, searching for me for 20 years.
She, like, contacts the dead every, like, Friday the 13th. This Friday.
It actually terrifies me that one day she just shows back in my life and is just like, so, we've been together for 20 years and you haven't asked me to marry you. That's genuine. That's a genuine fear that I have.
She asks you to, like, how come you haven't asked me to marry you?
Well, like, I don't know.
You got 3 kids to feed.
We were in 3rd grade. I didn't know if she was crazy. I didn't know how she would grow up.
How long were you apparently, like, quote-unquote dating for?
Man, 3rd graders ain't got no concept of time. I think a couple months.
Like lunch.
Yeah, we never saw each other outside of school.
Yeah, that's lame.
But she was my first kiss, and I can't even remember her goddamn last name. I'm sure I have a yearbook somewhere, and I could really, if I really wanted to, try
Let's
and...
not, because then that makes you the weirdo.
But, like, again, I don't dwell on this, but, like, there is an actual fear of she shows back up in my life crazy fuck.
It's not even she shows back up. It turns out, swap and rolls here, she's the ghost that's haunting you and your life. And she's just like, how come you never contact me, boo? I waited for you.
Like, you never called.
I went to middle school saving your seat for AP English.
I've been saving myself for you.
And she's got 3 kids.
Oh my god. So anyway, I know that sounds really funny and stupid. That's a genuine fear that I have.
Yeah.
Is that she will just show up.
I guess that's kind of... I mean, it is a little crazy because, like, it was 3rd grade. Like, I have a little...
You don't know what kind of person they're going to be.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little afraid because, like, Conan and I ended up going to a store and I saw my ex there. Now, luckily, he didn't recognize me because I have glasses and my hair is way shorter and a different color. Mm-hmm. And I only saw him for, like, a split second, and I smiled out of just, like, nervous tension. Uh-huh. And I was worried that he was going to recognize me. He didn't recognize me, but I did notice because I told him later on his Facebook. He saw me on Street Pass.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, because we both had our DSs. This was, like, Comic-Con. And I was, like, so panicky. I'm just, like, Conan, I think he's gonna come back and, like, ask me to marry him and, like, be fucking psycho. Jesus. Which, honestly, that is the real horror.
You don't know who's gonna end up crazy from their childhood.
When an ex comes back into your life, though, and they're just, like, super fucking crazy.
Statistically, somebody you knew as a child is crazy. Statistically.
You know,
I don't have the numbers to back that up, but that sounds like a real statistic.
There are always those people who are like, yeah, I'm the crazy one. It's just like, no, bish.
I'm so crazy.
No, bish. Unless you're screaming, leave Brittany alone!
Oh my god.
And you're a 2007 ghost. I don't know. Anyway, I would be the kind of ghost to fucking clean up after people, I think. Because I wouldn't want to be a bother, so
that would be your doomed existence, would be constantly
Which is kind of depressing, but at the same time, I kind of like cleaning as long as I get a little apron and all my cleaning supplies. Like, I'm okay with that.
Well, now we all know how to make Sam happy. We give her an apron and cleaning supplies, and she's happy as a cucumber.
I actually am kind of happy, as long as you're not, like, so fucking disgusting. Like, if you're leaving grease on your floor...
No, that's weird.
Yeah.
Never done that.
Fucking nephew did that. He spilled the bacon grease. Yeah, he spilled the bacon grease on the toaster, on the counter, and just left it there. And I'm just like, what the fuck's the matter with you? And he's like, oh, well, I just didn't clean it up. I'm like, you're supposed to fucking clean it up!
Well,
I didn't yell at him, but still.
It's about that time we bid
not.
our fair viewers and listeners farewell. Happy Spooky Friday the 13th, everybody.
Spooky.
We're going to do a little something special for Halloween. Don't you worry none about that. And,
are we doing the time warp?
We're not going to do the time warp.
Fuck.
I will vehemently refuse to do the time warp. I did it once. I will not do the time warp again.
Let's do the time warp again.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I don't know why we say good night. I don't, like... Hold on. Before we end the episode, we say goodnight. Because for us, when we're recording this, it's like 8 o'clock at night. This gets released Fridays at 9 a.m. And we need to remember that, because like we look out the window and it's dark outside.
Well, we usually say goodbye, and then you say goodnight, and then I just followed suit.
Yeah.
Just like,
what? You gotta be a leader of the pack. You can't be a conformist.
I'm playing with my little poops here on the table.
Alright, Sam's gonna play with her poop, and we're gonna leave the old team.
I got cute little poops.
Have a good rest of your day, everybody.
Boy, kitty, come here!
You do have cute little poops. I've seen them.
They got mustaches.
And that's gross.
And then this one's got a Morty face. This one's an O.